Okay, you guys, listen. The very first thing I need to do before we get into this video is address the elephant in the room, this little mic. I know I look ridiculous holding this little microphone right now, but the room I'm in is completely empty and it's fairly large, so the echo in here is horrific. So if I do not embarrass myself by holding this little mic for you, then you will have a terrible experience watching this video because the sound quality will be horrendous. We're just going to carry on and pretend that everything's fine. So let's just get right into the video. Okay, you guys, I am so excited to do this video today. This has been a long time coming. I bought this over a year ago now. So I bought this when we first moved into our house, and it was meant to go in our living room under our TV. When this arrived, basically Wayfair catfished me. They really did. This did not turn out to be the same as the pictures. Now, I knew that it wasn't real wood, so that's not the problem. It actually looks pretty nice, but there are shelves, as you can see, and in the back, there are these giant holes in all four compartments. And I guess they're meant for cords to go through, but they look terrible. So when we put it all together, I was like, Brandon, I hate that. I'm not putting that in my living room. And I waited too long to return it on Wayfair, of course. I procrastinated, kept decorating the rest of the house and all the chaos of moving in, so I couldn't return it. So I've held on to it for like over a year, and I had this brainwave a few months ago that I wanted to try to give it a facelift. So I wanted to paint it and I wanted to cover up the holes somehow and kind of redo the whole unit. So what we're going to do today is paint this unit with Fusion paint. I watch Mia Maples on YouTube, and she is always raving about Fusion paint. She uses it all the time. So I'm very hopeful that it is going to work as well as it's supposed to. I've never used Fusion paint before. So I am putting my entire trust in the woman at the store that sold it to me, because she sold me these 3 elements that she told me would work perfectly, and she told me it would be way more than enough paint. I mean, I'm looking at this feeling very skeptical that this is going to be enough to cover this unit, but she was very confident about that. So let's keep our fingers crossed. So before you paint your laminate furniture, you paint this Ultra Grip bonding agent all over it. And I guess it is something that the paint will adhere to. Usually you sand a surface so that it has a little bit of grip and the paint will stick to that. But in this case, I can't do that. So we're going to try this out. We'll cover it with this first. Then we're going to go in with this Fusion paint. I bought this really sweet mint color, which I'm so excited for in here. The color's name is Little Teapot. How cute is that? And then once we do, the lady at the store told me 2 coats of the Fusion paint, so hopefully that will hold up as true. She said then if you're painting an item that you plan to set things on, so since this is a piece of furniture, I'll probably put some decor or something on the top of this. She recommended putting a satin top coat just on the top surface where you might set things so that the paint doesn't peel off and stick to that. So this is Dixie Belle paint, and it's a satin clear coat. So she said just go over the top once you're done with that. So let's get right into it. Okay guys, it is now the next day and the Ultra Grip bonding agent has been drying for about 24 hours at this point. So I let it dry overnight, and This is a 250 milliliter bottle. So just for reference, in case you are thinking about painting a piece of furniture and you want to use this size as a reference, this bottle is still about a quarter to maybe a third full. So I thought I might use the entire bottle. I was even worried I might run out, but the texture of this is very runny. Like it's more like water than a paint consistency. So it's super runny. So it goes really far. So there's still probably a quarter or a third left in this bottle. Now we are going to move on and apply the first coat of Fusion paint. I'm told that I should only need 2 coats of this paint to cover this really well. So I'm hoping it's going to adhere well. With this primer on, it no longer feels really glossy and smooth. It doesn't feel tacky, but it definitely feels like a rougher surface. It kind of feels like if you sanded a surface. It has kind of that gritty texture to it. So I'm really hoping the paint will adhere. So let's get started and apply our first coat. Okay, you guys, so a little bit of time has passed since the last clip that you saw. I ended up painting 3 coats on this piece of furniture. The second coat looked okay, but it didn't look like perfectly covered to me. And maybe that's because it was originally quite dark and the paint is pretty light. So I did do 3 coats. Now, as you can see, I did not paint the back sections of this TV stand. And that's because, like I said, I hate these holes. So all along I have wanted to do something to hide those holes in the back. Now I did paint the shelving initially, but after the first, or I can't remember if I did the second coat, but after the first coat or 2, I had this brainwave that I didn't end up wanting to use them. What I feel is that with the shelving in here, it looks cluttered. So instead I decided that I'm going to leave the unit completely open like this, and I can put some baskets, maybe some wicker baskets or something in there, and I think it will look less cluttered overall. So now I'm going to explain what I plan to do with the back of the furniture. I had this vision, and I don't know where it came from, but one day I just had this vision of putting these boards along the back. So my husband cut out these boards for me and he routered the edges. So they are going to stand up in here vertically. So I'm going to line the back with these boards. I'm going to paint them the same color first, obviously, and then I'm going to glue them in there, and I hope it looks really nice. I have this vision in my mind and I hope it's going to match it. It's kind of like a feminine sort of coastal vibe is what I'm going for. We'll see if it ends up being cute and coastal, I'm not sure. But let's get painting. Oh, and the other thing I want to add is that I'm actually almost out of paint. I'm going to do my first coat on these boards and see if I have enough paint. I think though that I'm probably going to have to run to the store and buy another can, because after covering all of this with the third coat, I have like a very, very small amount left. So I'm skeptical if I'm going to get 2 coats to cover all these boards, but we will find out. Okay, so I officially underestimated how little paint I had left. I didn't even make it through half of these, and I've used every last drop in this can, and I'm completely out. So I'm going to run to the store, pick up another can of paint, and also pick up the glue I need to glue these boards to the back of this unit, and we'll get right back into painting. So it's now the next day, and the 2 coats of paint have dried on these wooden pieces that I'm going to be putting in the back of the unit. So what I'm going to do now is paint a clear coat on the top of the unit and on the base of these shelves. And that's because the woman at the paint store told me that I should put a clear coat anywhere that I'm going to be setting items later so that the paint won't peel off. So I'm going to quickly put a clear coat on. Then I am going to fill the holes in the unit, which are there right now. They're the holes where the shelves could adjust into before, so I don't think they look great being exposed like that. So I'm going to fill those quickly with a wood filler, paint them, and then finally the last thing we have to do is to glue the wooden pieces to the back of the unit. And I picked up this Gorilla Glue, which is supposed to be like the strongest heavy duty glue ever. So if this doesn't work, nothing will. So we're going to glue that on. Then what I'm going to do is clean up the room and we will see the finished product. So let's get going on the clear coat. Okay, we are now out in my living room because I want to clean the room that this furniture is actually going into and lay down a rug. So I had my husband help me move it out here. So I am going to paint over those holes, which I've filled. In hindsight, obviously, I should have filled the holes before I painted the whole thing, because now it's kind of a nuisance to be sanding it and repainting it. So that was my bad, big time. So definitely fill the holes first, but I'm going to do that. And then we're going to glue those boards to the back, which I'm a little nervous about because they have to fit. They're like a super, super snug fit. And so I'm nervous that I'm going to get to the end and it's going to be like really hard to put the last one in, but we will just see how that goes. So we are going to paint the holes and put the boards in now. Like this stuff, it's like glued shut. Oh my gosh. Okay, got it. Okay, you guys, the furniture is finally complete. I am back in here with this tiny mic. Again, I know it looks ridiculous, but the sound quality is just so much better. So bear with me. We are in our den, I guess. I don't even know what to call this room yet. Like I want to say living room, except that we already have a living room and I don't plan to put a TV in here. So I'm going to call it our den for now. So I laid out the rug as you saw, and I have set up the furniture with some decor that I think looks cute and kind of gives the vibe of the room, how I want to decorate it. So we are going to take a look. And I also want to say that I don't know what to call this anymore. Originally, it was a TV stand, but I have zero intention of putting a TV on it, even though Brandon really wanted to. I don't want to put a TV in this room. So what do you like? Comment below if you know what you're supposed to call this. I don't even know what to say anymore. Like furniture. Yeah, you'll see what I mean. You let me know below what I'm supposed to call this now that I have revamped it. So let's check it out. Okay, you guys, here we are. What do you think? I am in love with this stand. I can't believe how it turned out. Like it looks even better than I was envisioning. So once I finished and I just had it painted, it was very blue. Like the blue was pretty bold, and I was a little bit nervous because I was worried that maybe it was like too teal and it wouldn't look natural once it was in here. So I picked up these woven baskets because I thought that they would add a little bit more of that earthy texture that I was hoping for. So I think that they really help contrast kind of this bright teal blue. And then I threw this blanket in this basket. I also put a bunch of plants on here. So these are actually house plants from the rest of my house. So I just went like a scavenger and collected my little plants and stuck them all in here. So the rest of my house is looking pretty barren and ugly right now, but it was worth it for the sake of this cute little stand. And then I put some travel souvenirs back here, a couple postcards that I have from some of our trips. And I'm just super pleased with the way it turned out. It's exactly the vibe I wanted. It's like really light, really bright, like beachy vibes. And yeah. And then I threw down a little rug and this yellow pillow. And between the pillow, okay, so Brandon does not like this pillow whatsoever. He's telling me that this is called the hippie room, which, I mean, that's fair. That's probably is what I'm going for. So he's not a fan of the pillow. The rest of it he does like. What do you think? What do you think? Let me know below. Is it better than before? I hope you say yes. Like anything would be better than the before, but do you like the color choice? Because I think the color could be a little controversial. Let me know if you like the color. Now that I finished the project, I also want to give my quick review of the fusion paint that I used. So I did end up putting 3 coats of paint on this unit, and I didn't feel with the second coat that the coverage was good enough, but I was painting a dark surface with a light colored paint. So if you started with a lighter surface or picked a darker color paint, then probably you would only need 2 coats. I mean, it seems similar when you're painting your walls. If you're painting over a dark color, you usually need more than 2 coats. So the paint seemed to do its job pretty well. I did use that primer, that grippy primer at first, which seemed to do well. And the one thing I would say is that there were a few spots inside this cabinet that for whatever reason the paint didn't adhere to on the first coat. I'm not sure what kind of film was there. It was actually in the spots where the shelf was originally sitting. So right along the inside there where the shelf would have been sitting, something happened there that the paint wouldn't adhere to. But on the second and third coat, it covered fine. You can't notice it at all now. The top coat that I used seems to do a good job. I set this stuff all up on here the day after I painted it, so I did let it dry for a day. And I've picked a few of these things up, and there's no marking or anything. So I think that top coat does do a good job. I did find it extremely hard to keep the top coat free of any dust or dirt. Like it just seemed like no matter what I did, it was collecting dust. So I'm not blaming the top coat for that. I think that's my painting problem. I don't think that I either clean the brush well enough or clean the surface well enough. So maybe just be really conscious of that if you're putting some kind of a clear top coat, that you really want to make sure the surface is perfectly clean and that your brush doesn't have like any dust or any kind of dirt in it. But overall, I do think that the fusion paint does do what it claims to do. I think it does a good job. The one downfall for me is the price. It was around, I want to say it was around $25 to $27 for that small container, which is like way more expensive than if you were to go and buy like a gallon of paint, which is somewhere between maybe $30 to $50, I think, for like a really high-end paint. And so for that price, like it's expensive. It's expensive for the quantity of paint that you get. And it took me more than one container to paint this unit, to paint 3 coats. So it is pricey, but it does do a good job. You don't have to sand anything. And the primer in this context is like super, super simple. It's almost like brushing water on the surface as opposed to an actual paint kind of a primer. So it's quick, it's easy, there's no sanding. So I think that there are a lot of reasons that you would want to use fusion paint as opposed to regular paint. that probably justify that price point. So overall, I would recommend it, and I actually did buy it in another color already. I don't know what I'm going to paint it with yet, but I bought this beautiful Tuscan orange color, which just kept catching my eye. So I'm going to find something in my house that I can paint that color and put it in this room probably. That'll be my next project. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun watching this furniture revamp. I had a super fun time doing this for the first time and testing out Fusion Paint and completely revamping this piece of furniture that for me was previously an eyesore. So I'm really happy. I hope you had a great time. If you like the way this turned out, let me know with a like below, and I will see you again very soon. Okay, bye-bye.